Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt, all hatred, all jealousy, all envy, all dissension, all rivalries, all adultery and fornication, whether idol worship, or your inward self or yourself, all words of hatred, all words of envy within one's tongue that can go from your thoughts to your lips, anything within the center of your mind, deceitfulness of riches, quarreling and fighting within oneself, that may not allow your body, your thoughts, and your consciousness to come to balance within your inner being, within your inner self, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 melanin centers, within your hands and your feet that control the rest of your body, within your organs and your kidneys and your liver, your axons and your dendrites, your left and the right ventricle of your heart. And bring your mind to balance within yourself. Bring your heart and your mind to balance. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as another Shabath, that we may cease from all our labors on this seventh day, according to the seventh letter of the Aleph, swore at night, wrestle our word perfection on this 10th month, according to the Yah, the hand, the open right hand, who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, attainment, gift, and give, and action. For we live our life to live in action. For today we acknowledge the one who made all the horror of the earth, all of the nahar of the earth, all the rivers and streams, the one who formed and shaped all of the animals and the creatures of the earth, that we may guard and protect in his Gan, the one who allowed us to live and to breathe in understanding, the one who gave us our akla, our food in the Gan, and what to eat. Every herb-yielding seed was supposed to be for food for us and for the animals, that we may be nourishment to our body that is yielding seed, that we may bring forth more seed to others. So today we acknowledge him as our Abba, who sits in the highest Shamanim, above the highest Shamanim, above the 13th Shamanim, above all gods, all rulers, all beings of the Rakia, all beings of the firmament, all beings on the surface of the earth and the center of the earth. The one who gives life and understanding to our inner man and our inner being in the feminine earth. For even as the feminine earth, man stands on the feminine earth, the actual feminine of the earth supports the man and allows him to stand and to walk and supports his feet. Even as the woman is at Yahusha's feet, learning from him. So as we move forward, we will move forward in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, and munah, self-control. We will move forward in meekness and humility. And most of all, we move forward in ahab, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. They say a multitude fitly joined together, that we may bring forth a sound vibrational frequency as one. For that is the only way things functioned from the beginning. All right, so this is the book of Psalms, chapter 49, 1 through 4. It says, hear this, I say, or Shema this, all ye people, all people, give ear, all ye inhabitants of the world, this whole world. And it says, both low and high, that's no matter how tall you are, how short you are, no matter how rich you are, if you got billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, quintillion, sextillion, Googleplex, or if you poor and you have 5 cents in your bank account, or you overdraft and your bank account getting ready to shut down. He said, pour together. So, because the rich and the poor meet together. Because that's what we are. He said, rich and the poor meet together, for Yahuwah is the maker of us all. Verse 3 says, my mouth shall speak of wisdom, or hakmah, and the meditation of my heart, my labah, my lab, my makashaba shall be of understanding. Be not. So if you got understanding in your mind, your meditation should be your Aleph, your meditation should be of the Torah, your meditation should be of the Abri, Lashan, the language. Your meditation should be of doing good deeds. Your meditation should be able to be used to cast down imaginations and every thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of Yahushua Mashiach. Verse 4 says, I incline my ear to a parable, and I will open dark sayings upon the heart, upon the heart. So we look at ourselves as that harp string, upon the harp, in your body, inside of your heart body, inside of your heart inward man. Right, so that word for the world is Qahalath, or Qahalath, right? Take out the vowels, Qahalath. It means what? Age, duration of your life. In the inhabitants of the duration of your life, the world. Age, a short time. It says fleeting life. All ye inhabitants of the world in this short duration of your life, he's saying, listen and take instructions. He said, and give ear. They say Shema. Because he says give ear. Why? Because your ear actually produces a vibrational frequency. You got your axons, you got your cochlea and you got the eardrum, just like Morse code. Just in times past, thousands of years, people beat drums to send signals across mountaintops, hundreds of miles. Right? So this is 2 Baruch 48:7. It says, 2 Baruch 48:7 says, you remember the beginning which you created, and you do not forget that destruction will come. Right? The beginning, that's when he created everything. But destruction is going to come. Why? Because just like we just read, people are not giving ear to what's being said. And then they're not actually listening. And guess what? He says, verse 8 says, with signs of fear and threat, you command the flames, just like any other flaming torch. It says, and they change into winds. And with the word, you bring to life that which does not exist. He said, you bring to life that which doesn't exist by your debar. That's why he says, give ear. And into winds, and with the word, you bring to life that which does not exist. And with great power, you hold that which has not yet come. You instruct the creation with your understanding. That's why he says, my mouth and my thoughts going to be of understanding. Be not, he said, be not. And you give hakmah to the spheres. That's why you need wisdom. He said, my meditation of my heart going to be of wisdom and understanding. Because you're going to give you wisdom to your spheres, so that they minister according to their positions. He said, because you need to know that they need to minister within you according to their positions within yourself. If you don't know this, then guess what? Your meditation is off. So that they minister according to their positions, because everything has a position. Nothing is off. Yahuwah is precise. Everything has a position to where it needs to be. This is the 4th book of Azra, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, Old Testament, why successive generations were created. And I said, yet behold, O Yahuwah, you have charge over those who are alive at the end. But what will those do who are before us? Or we, or those who come after us? He said to me, I shall liken my judgment to a circle, just like a sphere, because they're ministered according to their positions. You cannot alter it. Just as for those who are last, there is no slowness, so for those who are first, there is no haste. Right? Yahuwah is balanced. He wants everybody to finish the race, both male and female, fat and skinny. He wants everybody to finish the race. He does. Right? So this is the second Enoch 48. He said the sun, well, it says second Enoch, Canute 48, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, about the solar movement along the 7 circles. The sun, so that it might travel along the 7 celestial circles, which are appointed to 182 thrones. So you look at 182 thrones. Right, we're literally at it, the 182 throne. Like, we're in the middle of it, going towards the summer, the winter solstice, the longest night when the sun goes down. And we're literally going to see, you're literally going to be in obedience to the 7 celestial circles and understanding it. And get what it says. Which are appointed to 182 thrones, so that you might descend to the shortest day. And more 182 thrones, so you might descend to the longest day. So you're literally in the actual realm of it. And people say, that doesn't make me excited. I'm like, you're literally in it. You know why? I said, it don't make me, he said, why does it make you excited? 182 thrones. He also has 2 great thrones where he pauses when he turns around in the direction and in the other direction, higher than the lunar thrones. It's higher. The lunar thrones are lower than the Shamash thrones. Why? The lunar thrones are lower. 354 days versus 364 days. So you look at 182 thrones, 1 plus 8 plus 2 equals 11. 11 plus 11 equals what? 22 letters in the alphabet. 22 letters in the alphabet, which equals to 4. 4 corners, 4 transitions. You're literally in it. How many alphabets is 22? Alphabets, all that's entailed in 182 thrones. And this way, the sun moves along the celestial circles, because you got to be in tune and your mind has to be fixed. That's why I always say, cast your cares away. Close the gates of your mind. Why? Because it's serious, right? It says, when he comes close to the earth, then the earth makes merry and makes its fruit grow. He said, this is why you ain't got no fruit. Because the meditation of your heart and your mind is not of understanding. Your songs are not of understanding. Your thoughts, your poems are not of understanding. Your words, your messages, your scripture readings are not of understanding. He said, it's of rebellion, trying to find things to condemn, trying to find things, he said, not to obey. Then your fruit ain't never gonna grow. But he goes away, then the earth laments. He said, when the sun goes away, the earth laments. That's why a lot of people are miserable, because the sun left. He said the day dawned and the day star has left, because they don't delight when the sun come up, because the sun is supposed to be up inside of you. And the trees and all the fruits have no productivity. All this is by measurement. Why? Because no productivity means what? He said, I ain't gonna do nothing. Exactly. No sun. No. He said, you don't have no ore on the inside. And by the most precise measurements of ours, he fixed it by measure by his own hukmah, within his thoughts and his mind. He said, the meditation of my heart is going to be a wisdom and understanding. That everything visible and invisible, from the invisible things and invisible things he created, all things visible, and he himself is invisible. You can't see your inward man, your inward soul. You can't see it. Thus, I am making it known to you, my children. And you must hand over the books to your children. Teach your children and your children's children. The secret things belong unto Yahuwah, but those things that are revealed to us are belonging to our children and our children's children, according to Deuteronomy 29. And guess what? And through all your generations, and to your relatives and among all nations who are discerning, so that they may fear Yahuwah, Elohim. That's the whole point. Fear him. So they may accept him. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And they will be more enjoyable than any delightful food on earth. Anything you can eat. If it's not, he say, there's no productivity. And they will read them and adhere to them. He said, man, you gotta read them and obey them. Because if you obey this, then you'll have productivity, and your meditation in your heart will be a wisdom and understanding. And guess what's gonna come out of your mouth? Light. It says, but those who are undiscerning and do not understand Yahuwah, neither fear Elohim, because that's the point, nor accept him. That's the reason why there's no productivity. I don't accept it. I don't fear Elohim, but renounce them. You literally cast them away. Just like a woman cast away her husband. How you say, loathe them. They cast them away. And regard themselves as burdened by them. They burdened by it. Just like a woman is burdened by her husband. A terrible judgment is awaiting them. Happy is the person who puts their yoke on and carries it around. For he will plow on the great day of judgment. Because everybody got judgment. Right? So we look at the 7 celestial circles. He said, I travel along the 7 celestial circles. Or look at the 7 cogs and muaz of the feast. He said, each position ministers according to his position. Every position. Pasak, Kagmatsa, Bakur, Kafar, Yom Teruah, Shabur, Kagsuka. Each sphere. Right? Every single sphere traveling on the 7 celestial circles. And then you look at what? Pasak being the root of all of that. And you can't get there until you travel a full 364-day cycle. So that you get to the end of the year. And you can say it is finished. To do what? To do it all over again. Because it has to be continual. Because the sun is fixed. And the Yarek is fixed. And that's the same way the Yarek is fixed and the sun is fixed, you need to be fixed on Yahuwah. And the same thing comes to you when you're actually joined to other people. You need to be fixed to them. And you should not move from them. You should not separate from them. Because the sun and the moon travel together if you look up in the sky. Right, so this is Enoch, Hanuk, 82, 2-9. I have given wisdom, hukmah, to thee and to thy children, that they shall be to thee, that they may give it to their children for generations. Right? Hukmah, namely, passes their thought. It's going to pass your whole consciousness. It's going to have you delight in this thing so much to where it's like any delightful food. Like it just makes you want to do it. And it says, and those who understand it shall not sleep. He said, they ain't going to go to sleep. Why you think Yahushua, when he went to go pray at night, what was he doing? He was out in the garden, delight himself in Yahuwah. He's like, nevertheless, not my will, but thine will. And everybody else was asleep. Because they didn't understand what he was getting ready to do. But he did. He said, go and take your sleep. Take your rest. Lay down. He said, but listen with the ear, that they may learn Hukmah, and it shall please those that eat. They're better than any good food. Barak are the righteous. Barak are those who walk in the way of righteousness. Why? You got to walk in the way of commandments. Why? What is righteousness? Keep his commandments. And sin not as the sinners. In the reckoning of all days which the sun transverse the Shamayim, right? Entering in and departing from the portals. From 30 days with the heads of 1,000 of the order of the stars, together with the 4 which are intercalated, which divide the 4 portions of a year, just like we just talked about 11:11. 182 thrones, 22 letters in the alphabet. And it says what? Lead them and enter with them 4 days. Only to them men shall be at fault, and not recognize them accurately, for they belong to the reckoning of a year, and truly recorded thereon for everyone in the first portal, and one in the third portal, and one in the fourth portal, one in the fourth, and one in the sixth. That's what we're getting ready. We're going into the 6th portal when the sun goes up. He was like, that don't make you excited? He's like, we're going in the 6th portal. We almost to Passat. And get what it says. And the year is completed 364 days. 364 days. And the account there is accurate, and the recorded reckoning thereof exact, for the luminaries and months, and festivals and years. And Uriel shown and revealed it to me, to whom the master of the whole creation of the world has subjected the whole host of Shamayim. And he has power over night and day, to cause the light to give light to men, the Shamash, the Yarak, and the stars, the sun, moon, the stars, and all the powers of Shamayim which evolve in their circular chariots. They all move in the circular chariots. And they ain't going to stop either. Right? This is the book Hanuk, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, 101. Examine the Shamayim, you sons of Shamayim. So he's saying this is better than any delightful food. He's like, what you doing? All the works of Yahuwah, and be afraid to do raw in his presence. He's like, I've given you these books. I've given you all this understanding and wisdom. He's like, why are you going to do evil? Why are you going to gossip, slander, have hatred, jealousy, envy, complaining, pride, stubbornness? Why are you going to have that? Why are you going to have a forward mouth? He said, why are you going to do that? Why you ain't going to love your neighbor, you love yourself? Why are you going to oppress the poor? Why would you do evil in his presence? Because the whole earth is his presence. People are like, I just do it over here in this building over here. I do this over here in the corner over here. That's it. The whole earth is his presence. The Shamayim is throne, the earth is his footstool. No matter where you go, you can't do evil in his presence. If he closes the window of Shamayim and hinders the rain and the dew descending upon the earth because of you, what will you do? What will you do? If you don't get any rain that comes down from Shamayim, what's going to happen? Nothing going to grow. You ain't going to have no fruit, and you ain't going to bear nothing. You ain't going to have no productivity. Or he sends his anger against you and your deeds. Is it not you who would entreat him? He said his anger done came down. Boom. Because of your deeds. And people say, oh, what happened? No, it's because of what you did. It's because of what you said. It's because of what you did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you never reconciled. It's because of the stuff you still hold in your heart. It's because of the things you still don't want to do. He's like, that's why he do it. Because you utter bold, hard words against his righteousness. He's like, please. He said, hold your peace. He said, against his righteousness, against his commandments. I ain't got to do that. He like, I spoke to you. My voice came to you. You ain't got to do nothing. You shall have no shalom. He said, you ain't going to have no peace because Yahuwah ain't saying, I ain't give you no peace. It's like a father in the house with a mother or a daughter, a father with a daughter, and a father tell the daughter what to do. He said, I'm going to do it. He said, no, you're not going to do that. I promise. He said, no, you can't. And then she said, no, I'm going to do it anyway. He said, what? You going to do what? And then his anger burned hot. Then he, guess what? He the meanest person in the world. Yahuwah is so mean. It's like a woman or a daughter. Look at her father is so mean. He's so mean. I don't like him. Or a wife. He be like, he's so mean. No, he ain't mean.
He says, you shall have no shalom within yourself. This ain't got nothing to do with the other person. He says, in verse, this is first Enoch, Aleph Hanuk 5, 1 through 3. I observe how the trees cover themselves. So that's why he's saying, observe the Shamayims, observe the trees. This was entertainment. This was Netflix for us. This was actually Amazon Prime. Matter of fact, this was actually, how you say, peacock. We had a literal peacock we looked at. Dude. Right, we had all the streaming channels. Like you go outside, you got all the streaming channels outside. They all out there. You got the Animal Planet, you got National Geographic. Man, you even got people over there doing things they shouldn't even be doing. Right down the street. You can walk down the street and see that. And guess what? People say, I watch it on the television. You can go outside, you get all the channels out there. I ain't telling you to go look at everything. There's only certain things Yahuwah are telling us to look at. But at the same time, everything's outside. You can go out the door and see that. Now observe all this and learn how he who lives forever has made all of these for you, how his works are before him in every year that comes. So it ain't stopping. In every year that comes, he's already given us a consciousness to do this. To our higher self, to our higher consciousness, to our higher being, to our 12 cranial nerves, to our 12 minutes of fruit, continually. That they may produce in their seasons, and that we should only seek him and his commandments and him continually. That you may be the actual, the actual being, because all that immersion Yahushua have put him on. How many disciples did Yahushua have? He says, he had 12. And he says, and are not changed. They don't change. Or he said, I am Yahuwah, I change not. Why are you changing it? Yahuwah said, I don't change. I ain't going to change it. And you making it change. I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. When I said, oh, you got to be 30 to 50 years old to do the 10 meter, I'm not changing it. I'm not changing the fact that I told a man when he utters a thing out of his mouth, you utter a vow, you must complete it. I'm not changing it. I'm not changing what I gave commanded a woman in her father's house when she vowed a vow and her father withstood her. You can't do anything, or her husband do it. I'm not changing it. But as Yahuwah has ordained, so everything takes place. He says everything takes place, and he see how the seas and the rivers together accomplish their work. He says the sea, the Yam, and the Nahar accomplish their work, his work. It ain't gonna stop. It's not gonna stop. Regardless if people don't want it or not. Yeshayahu 55, 10 through 11. For as rain and snow come down from Shamayim, we're now going to the longest day, longest night. And we're in the Shaleg, winter. It's cold. And do not return there, but water the earth, bring forth sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. You can grow things in the rain, in the summertime. You can grow things in the wintertime with snow. He said, what grows in the snow? Carrots, kale, many things. Carrots, kale, what else? Spinach. A lot of things grow in the wintertime. Many things grow. Most people don't know that though. He said if you've done things properly, you have things to store up for the wintertime in a 364-day cycle in an agricultural society. You have many things to store up. Bread, flour, wheat, all these things, herbs, grounded up herbs for your medicine. Got your herbs all ground up in a powder. Just in case somebody catches something, just somebody gets sick. You got the herbs to cleanse it out of your body. You got bread. You got eating plants. Notice how in the winter, and most people don't understand that. All that's a part of it. And then during the wintertime, what do? You got all these things to look at. You got rain and snow to look at. Yahuwah gave us the snow. Let's go play in the snow. Let's go outside and look at the snow. Let's look at our HD TV out of our 2 eyes. And it says right here, and do not return, but water the earth, making it bring forth sprout, and giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my debar be that goes out of my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed for which I sent it. It shall what? Succeed. It shall Selah, and it's gonna Shelah. It's sent. Shalak, sent. Ku Yahuwah debar Asher Yitzah Miki La. What? Shoot. It's gonna return to me. What do you think that the bar goes out of the mouth for? It goes out, it's sent to people, to a person, to the earth, and it's supposed to bring something back. The same way it brings something back to him, just like a tree yields fruit, and then it yields fruit in the winter after the snow is over, and it yields fruit to give to him because it has productivity. And that tree going to produce fruit to give to him. It doesn't keep the fruit; it's just going to rot. I have to give it. It has to come. He has to come take the fruit from me because I had a productive winter. I had a productive early winter and a productive late winter, and I have a productive harvest that I can offer to you. Right? All that's important. Yeshayahu 30, 23 through 26. And he will give rain for the seed, because he said, I'm going to give rain, which will you sow your ground, and bread the produce of the ground. What's he going to? You're going to give seed to sow your ground, and bread the produce of the ground. Where it says, which will be rich and plenteous. In that day, your livestock will graze in large pastures, and the oxen and the donkeys that work the ground will eat seasoned fodder, which have been winnowed and showed and forked. And every lofty and on every lofty mountain, and every high hill, there will be brooks running with water. In the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. So you look at all that, you don't see anything in there about animal sacrifices. Matter of fact, you see everything in Bereshit right there. Bereshit chapter 1, verse 26 to 28. You don't see anything about any of this stuff. Look at the food you're gonna be eating. The animal's gonna be eating the plants. You're gonna be eating the plants. The bread gonna be plants. The water gonna be flowing. Verse 26 says, moreover, the light of the moon, Labanah, that word for moon in that verse is Labanah. There's a reason why. Will be as the light of the sun. He said, the Labanah going to be as the light of the Kama, the sun, and the light of the sun will be what? Sevenfold as the light of 7 days. What day is this? It's the 7th day, Shabath. Matter of fact, he said it's going to be 1 day. He said the light of the sun going to be at just like 7 days of light. And guess what? Swore not for rest law, word perfection. The day of rest. 7 days. As the sun travels on the 7 celestial circles. It says, in that day when Yahuwah binds the brokenness of his people, and what? And heals the wounds inflicted by his blow. Why would he say that? Right, so that word for Kama is what? The word for sun is Kama. It means what? Sun, heat of the sun. Heat of the sun. That's why it has Kama, not Shamash. It's the heat of the sun. He said the woman, he said that Labanah gonna be like the sun. How the woman gonna be like the sun? How the woman gonna be just like the sun? How is that gonna happen? Right, so you look at the word Kama, right? You got the Kaf, which means ladder, ascend, descend, work, labor, fence, ascend, descend. It says what? The mean, it means water, fullness of life, oil, flow, chaos, cleanse. And you got the Ha, behold, reveal, light rays, stars, illumination. So how is the woman going to be like the sun? He say Labanah. Let me show you. It says what? Look at the Kaf. It means lateral work, ascend and descend. Right? So you look at the work, ascending and descending on the ladder. The work that's done is the water and the fullness of life and the illumination. And it's revealed. What light rays? Because it's the heat of the sun. Because you know the light rays is the heat of the sun. And what is the work, labor, that one is doing, ascending and descending? That's creating a fence, and what? And that's labor. That's going to be what? Fullness of life and water. He says, rain and snow come down from Shamayim, so does the bar goes out of my mouth. What is the bar equal to? 8. What is Yahuwah equal to? 8. And it says the the Lebanon going to be like the Kamar. How is that going to happen? Right, the word for moon is Lebanon. He said that the Kamar, the Lebanon, going to be like the Kamar. Right, so the moon, the word for moon is Lebanon. It means white. Then he say, I counsel you to buy gold trodden in the fire, that you may wear a what? White raiment? Oh, matter of fact, he said, I counsel you to buy it. Gold trodden in the fire. What's fire? Heat. Oh, it's the work that's illumination that's going to allow you to, how you say, be illuminated like the sun. What is that? The bar, the word. So how is the moon going to be like the sun? By the word that's taught to her by the sun. And guess what? The word for Lebanon means teacher, expert, guide. Of what? The house, the palace, the tent, the sukkah, the mishkan, the mikdash. That's the bayith. Lamed, bayith, noon, and ha. The noon is life, resprout, continual. And it says the ha is behold, reveal, light. So you see that when the Kamar shines his light, is heat on the Lebanon, and remember, it's going to be just like the sun, but that's the only way it's going to happen is by the bar. And you see the Lebanon, the moon becomes, after all that, a teacher, expert God of the house and the palace and the tabernacle, and it brings life and continual, and he said continual light within the house. And amazingly, what do you see here? Equals to 15, which equals to what? 6. When you add it up, the Lamed is 30, the Bayith is 2, the Noon is 50, and the Ha is 5, which equals to what? Equals to 15. He said, how you get 15? 50 plus 30 is what? 80. And then what? 87. Which equals to what? 8 plus 7 equals what? 15. Which equals to what? 6. What happened on the 6th day of creation? Let us make Adam in our own image and own likeness, and let him have authority to fish, sea, fowl, every creeping thing over all the earth. Matter of fact, both male and female. They're going to be just, the yard going to be just like the Lebanon going to be just like the Kamar, but the sun, how you say the Kamar is going to be what? 7 times brighter than the moon, and it always will be that way. And he says what? That word for blow, it says, in that day Yahuwah will bind up the brokenness of his people, because people broke. People broken, they poor because they, how you say, ignore instructions. And then it says, and heal the wounds that he inflicted. What do you mean he inflicted? The blow. What did blow he did? The slaughter, the wounds, the blow, the stripe. That word is makah. The pestilence, the carnage, the plague. It's a plague. People think the plague is like disease in your body, disease in your thoughts. No, it's the plague is not having the instructions, not having the knowledge, not being given to you, not being expounded to you, not given to you, that you may have it, that you may perform it. That's a plague. That's the plague. It says wound, slaughter. He said it's a plague because what's going to happen if you don't do it? Disasters. We done talked about disasters so much. Then you're going to have what? Casualties. Why do you think you have all these casualties today? Disasters. Disasters in families. Disasters in your finance, in your wealth. Disasters in your mind. Disasters in your body. Disasters around you in the city. Disasters in the communities. Disaster within yourself. Disaster within your marriages. Disaster within your children relationship. Disaster in your teachings, because it's all wrong. It's all disaster, right? Right. So this is 2nd Enoch, Hanuk 11:1. And those men took me and carried me to the 4 Shamayim. So he carried me to the 4 Shamayim. So that's above the 3 Shabath, the 3 Shamayims. He carried me to the 4th one. Because there's 7 heavens, Shabath Shamayims. Guess what? He carried me to the 4 Shamayim. What feast we got? So you got Pasach, Chag Matzah, Bakor. Oh, Chag Shabuah. Chag Shabuah. Oh, here we go. He carried me to the 4th Shamayim, and he showed me all the movements and sequences of the rays and solar and lunar light. Why? Because it's supposed to be greater than any delightful food. He said, how you going to do it? You got to perform the 7 celestial circles. That's how you're going to get this understanding. And I measured their movements, and I compared their light. How you going to do that? Because it's my HD TV. That's my television. That's my cell phone. That's my cellular device. He said, I'm not staring at gossip and slander and hatred and jealousy and envy and arguing and fighting and terrible messages. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. He said, I compared their light. And guess what I saw? That the Shamash, the Kamah, the sun, the Kamah has heat, rays of light 7 times greater than the moon. Why? Because the sun is going to be 7 times greater. But the Kamah and the Labanah are exactly the same. But the sun is 7 times brighter though, because he got to shine his light on the moon. Oh, you mean on her? This Bereshit 37, 9 through 11. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the Shamash, the sun, and the moon, and the 10, and the star. And they put 11 stars. When you go to Ashry, it's a share. It means 10 stars were bowing down to me. How you know it's 10 stars? When they came to Yusuf, in the book of Yasher, what did they do when they saw Yusuf? They hit the ground. Was Benjamin with them? He said, that's how you know it was 10. But he told it to his father and his brothers. His fathers rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? He said, what you dreaming? Shall I, your mother, shall the Kamah and the Labanah and your brothers, your 10 brothers, who betrayed you and threw you in the ditch, indeed come down and bow ourselves to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him. Of course they're going to be. Because when you start thinking like this, and you start having your consciousness like this, but it don't matter if you male or female, you start thinking like this, and guess what happened? Oh, you finna get some jealousy. You finna get some envy. You finna get some strife. You finna get some complaining. You finna get some mumbling. You finna get some grumbling. You finna get some who you think you are. You ain't all that. You ain't nobody. These are all jealousy words. And these are the words that kill a man within. He said, that stuff don't hurt. He said, all I did was have a dream. But his father Abba kept the saying in his mind. He's like, hold on, let me think about this right quick. I got to keep this in my Makasha book. Because he knew it was something you should not despise prophecy. He said, let me keep this in my thought process, in my thinking process, as I move forward in life. Not just despise it like the 10 brothers did. Right, this is Mashadi Proverbs 8, 6 through 11. Hear, right, Shema, for I will speak noble things. But it really says, hear, Debar, Nagid. Right? It says, and from my lips will come what is right. Mishar. Right? So you look right here, this is verse 6. Right, you got Shema, Ki, and you have what? Nagid. Nagid. They got Nagi'im. That's a princes or princes. Adabar. And it says right here, mifach. And then it says shabath. And then it says misher. I'm going to speak what is right. It says, hear Shema, the word, hear the prince, word. And this right here, this mishak is the opening of my lips. This word is opening of my lips shall be what is right. From the Nagid. And get what it says in verse 7. For my mouth will utter truth among. Wickedness is an abomination or suaba to my lips. He said it's an abomination. So what's got to be an abomination to your lips? Right, so let's move out of here. Right, so it's right here. In verse 7 says, Ki amath, and it says what? Yahaga. He said, my mouth will speak truth. Kaki, and it says right here, Tuaba. It's an abomination. That same word, shafah, to my lips. But it says right here, to my lips, and it says what? Rasha. He said, my lips will not speak Rasha. He said that it's not going to speak Rasha. Why? Right? So this word for, so you say here, right? So that word for prince right here, that word for noble things they have here, is Nagid. It means leader, ruler. He says, hear the words of the ruler. Hear the words of the princes. Hear the word of the ruler, the leader, the prince. Remember, there's only two shoulders and one head. Who is that? Like we spoke about before in the Testament of Zabulon. There's only two shoulders and one head. But everybody, the two shoulders want to be the head. He's like, hold up, you can't be the head. You ain't the master. It's a leader, ruler, prince, overseer. Who the overseer of the two shoulders? It says right here, it also says civil. It says, but it also says governor, leader, prince, honorable, chief, officer, prince, captain. Who's that? He said, hear his words. Why? He says, and from my lips will come what is right. So who's the only prince and ruler? He said, man, who spoke what is right all the days of his life? It ain't you. There's only one person who did that. And that's Yahushua Mashiach. You get what it says? He spoke right evenness, uprightness, rightly, rectitude, prosperity, straightness, agreement, peaceful. He said right things, mitzah. That's what he said. I'm going to speak what is right. Why he's speaking what is right? Mostly Proverbs 8:8-11. All the words of my mouth are righteous. They sadah. And there is nothing twisted or pathal or crooked or quiche in them. Nothing crooked in them. They are all straight or nakat to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Why? Because you're supposed to find it. That's why he tells you observe and look. Take my instructions instead of silver, and knowledge rather than gold. He said, pick it more than your stock portfolio, your cryptocurrency, your gold and your silver, your houses, your portfolio, your investments, your future plans, your selfish ambitions, and your goals. And it says, it's better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Why? And it says right here, this is Galatians 5:7-5. For freedom, Mashiach has set us free. He set all of us free. Yahushua Mashiach. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to the yoke of slavery. What do you mean, the yoke of slavery? Because when you are enslaved, you ain't free. He says, look, I, Shaul, say to you that if you accept, he says, this is the problem. He says circumcision. What are you talking about? Circumcision. So he's talking about circumcision. Let's see. Mashiach be no advantage to you. I testify again that every man who accepts circumcision is obligated to keep the whole Torah. He said, you know what people do with this book? They say, he said this 2,500 years ago to Galatia, so this applies to me. It's 2,500 years later. And he says what? You don't want to operate according to the 7 celestial circles? You think that's what he was talking about? You think he was talking about don't look at the Shema, don't observe the things in Enoch. You think that's what he was talking about? You think he was talking about to not when a man lay with a virgin, you shouldn't do what's right, or you think he was talking about that? You think he was talking about commit fornication? You could go commit fornication and adultery and all that? No. That's not what he was talking about. He's talking about circumcision. Why is he saying that? He says, verse 4 says, you are severed from Mashiach Yahushua. You would be justified by the Torah. You have fallen away from grace. Why would he say that? For through the Ruach by Amunah, we ourselves eagerly wait for the hope of righteousness. Right? That's what they're waiting on. This is 2,500 years ago. You're doing the same thing. But guess what he says? The hope of righteousness. What is righteousness? It'll be our righteousness if we keep his commandments. That's what righteousness is. So he telling you not to keep his commandments in righteousness? No, he ain't say that. He said the hope of righteousness. Righteousness is to keep his commandments. So why would you not keep his commandments? According to Deuteronomy 6:25. Why would you not keep his commandments? The commandments of the lamp, the Torah is a light, and correction and reproof is a way of life. Why would you not do that? That righteousness, the everlasting righteousness, the Torah is the truth. That's what he's literally telling you. A hope of righteousness. Get what 6 says. For in Mashiach Yahushua, circumcision nor uncircumcision count for anything, but only Amunah working through love. Why? Because Abraham circumcised his family through Amunah and belief in Yahuwah. That's all he did it for. Because Yahuwah spoke to him and told him to do it. And it was accounted to him for righteousness. And it says, but only Amunah through love. Verse 7 says, you are running well. He said, man, you were running the race. Who hindered you that you should not obey the truth? So the commandment of the lamp in the Torah is the commandments of the lamp in the Torah is the what? Instructions is what? Light. And correction and reproof is a way of life. Because he said that Torah is the truth. He said, who hindered you from obeying the Torah? This persuasion is not from one who calls you. A little leaven leavens a whole lump. So if he says don't keep no righteousness, then why he talking about leaven? Leaven a whole lump. Why he talking about Pesach and Kag Matzah? Get what it says. I have confidence in the master that you will take no other view, and that one who is troubling you will bear the penalty, whoever he is. But if I, brother, still preach circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? So he said, I still teach circumcision. He said, I'm still doing it. But he said, why am I being persecuted if I'm teaching circumcision? Because there's something wrong with the people who are circumcised. He says what? In that case, the offense of the cross has been removed. Because that's what circumcision is. The removing. He said, and Shaul was circumcised on the 8th day, according to Abraham's covenant. So he's circumcised in the flesh, and then he's talking about circumcision of the heart. So Shaul here is circumcised in the flesh and in the heart at the same time. He talking. And then he says, I wish those who unsettle you will emasculate themselves. Why? Because they're doing it by force. They're doing it by force. You can't force nobody to do stuff. So they could be a slave to you, human. That's the reason. And it says, the word for emasculate, he said, verse 12 says, I wish those who unsettle you would emasculate. So why he say emasculate? The word for emasculate, to amputate, to mutilate, to cut off. He said, I wish they just go circumcise themselves and go be slaves to the people who telling you that. Go be slaves to them instead of to Yahushua Mashiach. He said, why don't you just go do it then? Verse 13 says, for you were called to freedom. Why? He's talking to Galatians. Why? The people, because these people just got in the truth. They don't even know it. He said, they don't even know it. Abraham obeyed for 99 years before he got circumcised. These people haven't even obeyed yet. He's trying to get them to obedience first before they even do that. He's like, man, y'all gotta obey first before y'all do that. I can't allow you to do that. Only do not use your freedom as opportunity for the flesh. He said, don't use your freedom to do it, though. Because you got this whole little time period where you can get obedience and get all these things in order. He said, don't use your little freedom out here to just do what you want to do. He said, you do that, that's gonna be wrong for you to do. You can't just do what you want to do. But through love, serve one another. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. That was what was wrong with the people who were circumcised of Yehuda during this time. They were not loving their neighbors as they loved themselves. And that's the same thing people doing today. But if you bite and devour one another, what we talked about last week, about the crows and the ravens and the eagles, everybody biting the sheep and eating their flesh. Because they got all this knowledge and wisdom and understanding, but yet, and then all this little sheep, they starting to bite. What do you think is happening here? They're doing the same thing. But if you bite and devour, watch out that you are not consumed one by another. And then you guess what's going to happen? When you start biting each other, y'all got all this knowledge and you think you're somebody, you start biting each other. I'm riding on the wings of the wind. You start biting and devouring each other, and guess what happened? Then the other people start fighting back. Then you got this big old all-out war. And what does that create? Strife. Right, so this book of, it says, verse 4, that word for grace, it says, he said, you have fallen away from grace. What are you talking about? You have fallen away from, that word for in grace is charis in Greek. It means gracious, gravity, spiritual and divine. Influence upon the heart. Why? Because people forcing you to do it, it's not really influenced on your heart. And it doesn't allow you to what? Reflect on in life, on the things you've done to remove the things in your life that you have done from your life. That's what con is. Because if you hurry up and say, let's do this and get this done, and then guess what? You have no gratitude for Yahushua Mashiach anymore. It won't be an acceptable benefit. You won't have no joy. You won't have liberty and pleasure. Why? Because when Goyim got him circumcised, they had to be a slave to the person whom they were with. There ain't gonna be no let the birds fly. There ain't gonna be no jump in the water and let the fish swim. Ain't gonna be none of that. There ain't. Because the people still had to get things out of their life. Just like Abraham had to do a whole bunch of things before that point. It wasn't just overnight. It took him 99 years to even get that point. Right, so this is Galatians 5:16-21. But I say, walk in the Ruach, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh, for the desires of the flesh are against the Ruach, and the desires of the Ruach are against the flesh. He said, walk in it. It's all against the flesh. These are the things you got to remove out of your life. But it says right here, for these are opposed to each other, to keep you from doing what things you want to do. But if you are led by the Ruach, you are not under the Torah. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissension, division, envies, drunkenness. It says envy and drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. Some people think they will. Right, so that we're going to focus on this. The word for rivalries is what? Erethia. It means faction, strife, contention. Right. These are all different factions. These are all different groups. Factions, faction within factions. Right. Rivalries. Right. Competition for the same objective or superiority. That's what you got. Rivalries. It's the same objective. Why are you rivaling? How you say, why you got a rivalry with me? Why are you in strife with me? Why are you trying to pick a fight with me? To try to, how you say, they pick fights with you to try to draw an invisible cord with you to say, oh yes, I got him, he's with me. And if you don't, Then they slander you. They say all types of things about you. These are all rivalries. He say recruiting, dissensions, right? Disunion, divisions, all these different divisions. Dissension, disagreement that leads to discord. That's all it is. A bunch of disagreements. It's going to lead to what? That's one of the 6 things Yahuwah hates. 7 are abomination. Sowing discord. That's what disagreements do. Disagreements make you sow discord among brothers and sisters and people. That's all it does, because you got disagreements. So you should start sowing discord on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube DMs, Instagram DMs, email, how you say, Telegram, all that. It says seditions, conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against authority of the state. He said, why would you obey? He said sedition. What do you mean? Who's the authority and master of the body? Yahushua Mashiach. So what did he tell a man and a woman to do? Who sits in the highest Shamayim above all the beings and all gods? Yahuwah does, with his son Yahushua. And we ain't talking about the state where you live at, right? But we understand that the governmental structure is important, because that keeps everybody from doing it. But you see the governmental structure still is in structure, and people still do it. But actuality, it's not structure, because it's not one. Right? Disunion, the breaking up of something such as a federation. That's all it is. People start breaking up. It's like a bad breakup in a relationship. Ooh, that's going to be bad. Disunion. That's going to create all type of sedition, dissension, rivalry. It's going to create factions within oneself. Divisions. Sect or heresy. You're going to have all these sects. You're going to have all these sects and heresy within yourself. Heresy, belief and opinion. You're going to have all your own opinions. Now, he's like, man, everything's all this organized. That's why everybody got all these opinions. He said, where's the tribe of Levi, Louis channel, so everybody can go see what to do? Don't got it. Because everybody don't know what to do. Everybody's just doing what they want. People say something to think about. Sect, a group of people with somewhat different religious beliefs. And then what it says, for those, it says, from those of a larger group which they belong. He's like, that's what it creates. He said he never wanted that. Yahushua never wanted that. That's why he came and died. He said, rose and ascended. He left for it won't be this anymore. Because he wants a kingdom that's united. A Malkuth that's united. He said, if you do any of these things, you ain't going to be there. He said, you won't inherit it. You won't be able to attain it. You won't finish the race. You won't be able to run. You ever try to run with a lot of stuff on your mind? How many laps you going to get? You ever try to run with a bunch of heavy weights on your back? How long is it going to take you? And that's why people create it, so they can hinder you. Because they trying to race you, and they compete against you, and they trying to create something with you to stop you, and then you get weights on you. This is Bereshit 4, 1-8. Now Adam knew Yahuwah, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I've gotten a man from the help of Yahuwah. And again she bore his brother Abal, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a worker of the ground. They were farmers. And in the course of time, Cain brought Yahuwah an offering fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought the firstborn of the flock, right? Or vice versa. And then it says, and Yahuwah had regard for Abel and his offering. Why? But for Cain and his offering, he had no regard. So Cain was very angry. Why? Why you say, why you fit to anger? He said, you got to put these things away. Why? And his face fell. His face started to change. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? What you angry for? If you do not do well, sin is crouching at your door. That's what's going to happen. He said, actually say, why is your face falling? If you do well, you will be accepted. He said, your offering will be accepted. If you do well, if you have good within your heart. But if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. That's why sin get in. When you feel like your brother, and you got a rivalry with your brother, and you see your brother's stuff getting accepted, or your sister, or your husband, or your wife, or anything else, and then guess what? You get fits of anger, and then guess what happens? Your face fall, then you start to change, then you want to get angry, and then you want to try to hinder the other person so your gift can be accepted, so you can look better than the other person. And that's what you call a rivalry. Dissension. And if you do well, you will be accepted. If you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you. It's contrary to the kingdom of Yahuwah. But you must rule over it. You got to rule over it, over yourself. Because your mind has to be a wisdom and not understanding. Just like we read in Enoch. Cain, guess what it says? He's going to rule over it. Verse 8 says, Cain spoke to his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother and killed him. What do you think going to happen? You ain't get it out of your heart. It's contrary to you. It's contrary to the kingdom. And then guess what you do? You go and you got a rivalry with your brother, sister, your husband, your wife. You're jealous and envious of the person. You hate the person. And then guess what? You kill him. You kill kill their drive, kill their emotions, kill their understanding, kill who they are. And then guess what? Now they're gone. Now they ain't doing nothing. Now their productivity is gone. This is why it's dangerous to listen to things on YouTube. That's why. You'll notice the people who don't. You'll see they got all this, they doing all these things. You'll start to see. You'll be like, man, that person did all that. He's like, yeah, that person wasn't paying attention to all that stuff that you see. That woman did all that. Yep, that woman got something coming out, man. She wasn't paying attention to all that stuff you was looking at. She was looking outside. She was looking at the things Yahuwah told her to do. He said he rose up against his brother and Abel killed him, right? Right? This is book. He says Yahuwah, in this verse 6 says, Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? That word for angry is karah. Why are you furious? Why are you hot? What you hot for? What you become angry for? Blaze of anger, fits of anger. As Colossians chapter 3 tell you to put away. He said wrath, displeased. Why? Because your offering not accepted anymore? Your incense? You want to burn your incense and it ain't going nowhere? Why you grieved? He's talking to the man. He's talking both male and female. He said, why you grieve? Why you growing warm? He said his face changed, his glow. He said, you ever seen a person he would grieve within himself. It's just like when somebody sings a song, they hate you. And they get jealous and their whole face change. He was raw. He was raw within himself. And he said you can see it on their face. And you say, oh, that person, yeah. After you do your offering, he like, yeah, that person don't want, yeah, that person don't, ooh, that person, look at his face. He's like, why are you raw? Verse 23 says, actually, this is Slide 23, verse 6 says, Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? And why is your face fallen? That word for face fallen is panim. It means your presence. Your presence has fallen. It's from before time. How you looked yesterday don't look the same as you did today. It means what? Please, presence, till time, anger, your countenance. He said your countenance. He said our countenance is supposed to be like wisdom. You have your thoughts on wisdom and understanding. He said wisdom make a man's face to shine. You're supposed to be shining. But he said, why are you looking like that? Why your face falling? Why your shine has now went down? It's, sometimes the shine can go down on a person because of envy and jealousy and what people are saying. And some people don't got that type of, he said that type of skin. They haven't developed it yet. And you can end up killing somebody. He said, be tough. He's like, man, some people ain't reached that level yet. He said, some people can't take insults and all that jealousy, envy, and all that strife. Some things people are sensitive to jealousy, envy, and strife and not being one. Some people are sensitive to that, and they don't like it. Right? So this is that word. He said, why is your face falling? That panim, that word for face was panim. That word for fall is nafal. He said, why is your face fallen? That word is nafal. 53:07. It means to fall, to cast down, to prostrate oneself, to overthrow, to make the lot fall. Right? And guess what he said? And he rose up against his brother and he killed him. He harag. The word for kill is harag. Murder, destroy, kill, murder, with the intent. He's like, man, you did that stuff. You did that on purpose. You really had an intent to slay him. You really want to make him feel bad. You want to make him feel like he nothing. You want to kill him. And get what? And then you had your speech changed. You were fake. Cain changed his speech. And he faked him out. You fake. And then he slew him. After that. Oh, yes, I love you. Yes, man, you know. Oh, yes, I love you. And then guess what happened? Boom. He's like, what you do that for? Ha, 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 ha. That's an evil inclination inside of a human being. That's the evil inside of you. People say, why is that evil there? Because Yahuwah says it's in you. He said, you got to rule over it, though. People say, I don't want to rule nothing. Then you might as well just get out of this walk. You got to rule over it. He's like, you got to rule over it. He said, I got to rule over all that. He said, yeah. That's why he says, hear the words of the prince. He's trying to show you how to rule. Right? He said both male and female, right? It's Aramaic Targum Pseudepigrapha, Bereshith 4, 3-9. After a certain time, the 14th of Nisan, that is Pesach, Kagmatsu, the first celestial circle, Cain brought the produce of the land and the seeds of the flax and the offering of first fruit before Yahuwah. Abel, on his part, brought the firstlings of the flock and the fat part. It was pleasing before Yahuwah, and he turned friendly face toward Abal and his offering. But Cain and his offering, he did not turn a friendly face with me. He had, you know how your father look at you like, what you doing? Or your mother look at you and they mean. This grieved Cain very much, and his expression of his face was downcast. He's like, what you mean? What you looking at my stuff like that for? Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is the expression of your face downcast? If you perform your deeds well, your guilt will be forgiven. Huh? Oh. I thought you were supposed to offer an animal. He said your deeds will be forgiven. He said you do them well. Because everybody ain't doing their stuff well. He said doing it good. They doing it, but they ain't doing it very well. But if you do not perform your deeds well in this world, your sins will be retained for the day of judgment. People say, why you say your sins be retained? Because you ain't doing your deeds good. You ain't doing your deeds well. Sin crouches at the gate of your heart, but in your hand I have placed power over your evil inclination. Its desire will be toward you. Why do you think Shaul tell you to put to death what is earthly in you? He said, any thought and imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of Yahuwah, you cast it down. You got to rule over it. But you will have dominion over it, whether to be innocent or to sin. Cain said to his brother Abal, Abel, come, let us go outside. So now he talking to him, let us go outside. When the two of them had gone outside, Cain spoke up and said to Abel, I see that the world was created with mercy, but it is not governed according to the fruit of good deeds. And there is partiality in judgment. That's what he said. He created his own stuff, right? Let's see. Therefore your offering was accepted with favor. He said that's the reason why he accepted your offering. Because there's partiality in judgment. But my offering was not accepted from me with favor. Because everybody ain't doing what they're supposed to do. Verse 7 says, Abel answered and said to Cain, the world was created with mercy, and it is governed on the fruit of good deeds. He said it's governed on the fruit of good deeds. So what do you call that when they're going back and forth? Disagreements, which create rivalries, which create dissensions, which create your own opinion, which creates you're not getting into the kingdom. The Malkut, you won't be able to attain it. You won't be able to finish the race. So that word for Nisan, Nisan means their flight. He said that's their flight. That's their flight. Right, continuing on, continue verse 8 through 9, the same targums. And there is no part, he says, he says, and there is no partiality in judgment. That's what Abel said. Because the fruit of my deeds was better than yours. Now they talking about who better and who better. Mine was better than yours. And more prompt than your offering, and was accepted with favor. He said, look, at my offering will be before yours. Cain answered and said to Abel, there is no judgment, there is no judge, there is no other world, and there is no gift of good reward for the righteous, and no punishment for the wicked. He's like, ain't none of that. And Abel answered and said to Cain, there is judgment, and there is a judge, and there is another world, and there is a gift of a good reward for the righteous, and there is punishment for the wicked. Concerning these matters they were quarreling in the open country. They kept quarreling. And Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and drove a stone in his forehead and killed him. Isn't that what people do today? Stone him, kill him. Because they were going back and forth and quarreling. And that's what happens when you go back and forth and you quarreling. Then you end up slaying somebody, end up killing somebody you shouldn't. Yahuwah said to Cain, where's your brother Abel? He said, I don't know. Then he act like he ain't do nothing. I don't know. I ain't do nothing. And that's what people do today. After they create the rivalries and the dissension and all the things that they did, and all that hatred and things, and guess what? Then they act like they ain't do nothing. The person that killed their brother or their sister. Devarim 16:19. You shall not pervert justice. You shall not show partiality. Oh yeah, Abel, I hear you. You know, Cain though is partiality. He said you shouldn't show it, and you should not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of the righteous. Now you done perverted judgment. Right, that word for show. He said, you shall not show partiality. That word for show is you shall not nakar. You shall not respect. To regard. You shall not, it's talking about judgment, pervert judgment. You shall not acknowledge. Well, he says respect. Respect what? You shall not, that word for show, that word you shall not nakar or respect what? Partiality. It means what? That word for partiality is panim. You shall not respect persons when it comes to judgment. You shall not respect persons. Before. You shall not respect persons when it comes to judgment. You shall show no partiality. Nakar, panim. 2 Chronicles, Devarim, Hayamin 9:7, and he said to the judges, consider what you do. He like, consider what you're doing, Cain, Mr. Cain. For you judge not for man, but for Yahuwah. He said, consider what you do. He is with you in giving judgment. Oh, now then, let the fear of Yahuwah be upon you. Be careful what you do. Uh-oh. For there is no justice, there is no injustice with Yahuwah Elohim. This to mean there is no partiality in respect of person with Yahuwah Elohim. Or partiality in taking bribe. Yahuwah don't care about your money. I don't care about your money, your face, your sad face, how you look, your downcast. It don't matter. He said, I ain't showing no partiality. And he says what? And he says what? That word for partiality in this verse is masoah. He said, Yahuwah Elohim is not masoah in lifting up or showing partiality or having any respect of persons or taking of bribes when it comes to judgment. He do not care about your money. That's why he said the rich and the poor meet together. He said, I don't care. It don't matter how many things you've done in life. He said, no respect of persons, right? This book of Job, chapter 32, 19 to 22. Behold, my belly is like wine that has no vent, like new wineskins ready to burst. I must speak that I may find relief. I must open my lips, my words, and speak mitzvah what is right. I gotta open it and answer. I will not show or nasa or lift up partiality to any man or use flattery toward any person. I'm not doing it. And that's what people shouldn't do for themselves. Even injustice within yourself. You shouldn't even show partiality to yourself. You shouldn't even show partiality and respect of persons even to yourself when it comes to judgment. of yourself. For I do not know how to flatter. People flatter themselves. He said, like Yahuwah said, you hear all this stuff, you barak yourself in your heart. He said, you bless yourself. He says, else my maker soon will take me away. What do you think gonna happen to you? That word for flatter is kana. He said, I will not kana myself to give a what? To a title, a surname. Because Yahuwah, remember, Yahuwah don't care about your title when it comes to judgment. He said, I done transgressed, I done did something against the Torah. He like, Yahuwah said, I don't care about your title, who you are, what you call yourself. He didn't care about when the Malachim did it. What he do? When some Azazel did it, what you think he did? When Dawood sinned one time, when Adam, what do you think he did? He didn't care. Adam, you created his image and likeness. You were like, Adam. He said, I don't have no respect to persons. I care about you, but I ain't gonna have no respect to persons. It says what? To call by name, to belittle, right? He said, I'm not gonna flatter. I'm not gonna flatter myself. You shouldn't flatter yourself. Yahuwah ain't gonna flatter you. He ain't gonna flatter toward any person. He's just gonna tell you what it said. This is the book of Job, chapter 34, verse 16 through 20. If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to what I say. So you got that understanding. We meditate like it's from the beginning. Shall one who hates justice govern? So you hate you hate judgment. Shall you govern anybody? Shall you rule over yourself? So you're gonna rule over your body, yourself, and you hate judgment. And you don't do judgment on yourself properly. So should you govern yourself? You haven't even, people say, have you grown up yet to where you can govern your body, yourself, and your behavior? And he says, will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty? Are you gonna do that? So you can't hate justice and govern nobody. Matter of fact, are you willing to condemn the righteous and the mighty? Like people who done righteousness, but then they do something wrong. Are you willing to do that? It says, are you going to condemn the righteous and the mighty who says to the king, worthless one? Can you say to a king, a ruler, worthless one? You can't do that if you hate justice. And nobles? You call a wicked man? Can you say that? Who shows no partiality to princes? Can you not show partiality to princes? Rulers? Nor regard the rich more than the poor? So you not the rich and the poor meet together. So can you do that? For they all are the work of his hands. So can you actually do that? It don't matter if it's your mother, your father, anybody. Husband, wife, children, ruler, teacher, pastor, headman, general assembly. It don't matter. He said, can you do that? Officer, virtuous woman. He said, can you do that? Verse 20 says, in a moment they died. This was going to happen. He said, at midnight the people are shaken and pass away. He said, that's what Yahuwah does. And the mighty are taken away by no human hand. He said, ain't nobody do nothing. He said, how you die without nobody touching you? Yahuwah's like, I do that. He said, Yahuwah has no partiality in judgment. So people thinking, oh, I'm good. At midnight, the people are shaken and pass away. Please say, why you gotta fear him? Right, Proverbs 17, 13 through 14. If anyone returns evil, rob for good, evil will not depart out of his house, from his house. He said, you want to eat? Huh? So you got a whole house where if somebody's doing good and somebody just keep doing evil in your house, after you do good to them, and they keep doing evil, and then you're like, man, where are all these spirits coming from? Why the plant flying in the air? Why the lights flickering and all this? Why all this stuff? Why I ain't got no peace and ease? It's because you were returning evil for somebody good that they doing evil. Why all these demons flying around? Why all these shadim going? Why all these shade? Why all these jinn going around, right? All these beings. Why are Koros and Arcturus and Abiwik and all these beings and the Toros and all these beings flying around and Asmastama and he said Thorax and all these beings flying around. Why they just torment? It's because if anyone returns raw evil for good, evil will not depart out of his house, not only out of your body, but also out of the household where you live, or the building you go to, or the place you live, or the community you live. He says the beginning of strife is a letting out of water. That's all it is. That's what strife is. It's dissension, rivalries, all that. It's just beginning of letting out of water. That's what people do. It's the beginning. You letting it out. It's coming out like water, like rain and snow. It's coming out like water. But guess what you got to do? So quit before the quarrel breaks out. But no, people keep going. He said, okay, so when we go to, you go online, you see, be like, well, how am I listening to this person at 3 a.m.? Because you know you're supposed to do it at 3 a.m. You're supposed to be praying. All right, so then you make a video talking about what people are saying about you at 3 a.m. 2 a.m. Right, but then people say, oh, I don't have no productivity in the household. So why is he quarreling with me? Because you have no productivity. He says, because your tree dead and your fruits are gone. Yahushua said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. He said, how do you know somebody loves you? He said, you'll keep your commandments. He said, they don't do what you say, then guess what? They don't love you. It's really that simple. And it says right here, quarrel, break out. That word for quarrel is madan, strife, contention, contest, quarrel, brawling, discord, strife, contention, object, contention, variant. But it says brawling is a fight or quarrel in a rough or noisy way and ended up brawling with a loud outside his house. It says right here, that means brawling. It says flow noisily, to fight in a rough, noisy, uncontrolled way. They be on the street corner fighting. They be in the hood fighting. They be in the hood in the classroom fighting. He said their father teach them how to fight. He said the young men have nothing better to do than to brawl in the streets. They said that's what people do. They play games, they compete against each other, and then they start fighting. They start quarreling and fighting because they're competing. Then it becomes a brawl in the streets. That's what people. He said, "What neighborhood you came from?" He said, "That's where you come from." Right. So this book of Ashry, chapter 22, verse 40 through 50. And Yitzhak, the son of Abraham, was growing up in those days, and Abraham, his father, taught him the way of Yahuwah to know Yahuwah, and Yahuwah was with him. We're going to skip through this. And Yitzhak was 37 years old when Yishmael, brother, was going about with him in the tent. He going about in the house, going back and forth, quarreling and fighting, dissension and robberies, strife, complaining, pride, boasting about how one is better than somebody else. And Ishmael boasted of himself to Yitzhak, saying, I was 13 years old when Yahuwah spoke to my father to circumcise us. And I did according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spoke to my father. And that's what people do. I did what Yahuwah told me to do. You didn't. You ain't nothing like me. And I gave my soul unto Yahuwah, and I did not transgress his word that he commanded my father. I ain't transgressed nothing. And Yitzhak answered Ishmael, saying, why do you boast to me about this? And now you see, he ain't gonna like this. About a little bit of thy flesh, which thou didst take from thy body, concerning which Yahuwah commanded thee. Oh, that's why Yeshua was talking about that. He said, what you boasting to me about what you doing? He said, you just did what Yahuwah concerning you. You don't need to boast. People think you got to boast about it. No, just do what he says. Verse 44, as Yahuwah liveth, the Elohim of my father Abraham, if Yahuwah should say unto my father, take now thy son Yitzhak and bring him up and offer him before me, I will not refrain, but I will joyfully accede to it. And Yahuwah heard the word that Yitzhak spoke to Yishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of Yahuwah, and he thought to try Abraham. Why? Because of other people's mouth. When other people start talking and creating quarreling and fighting, then they want to bring you into their stuff. And Yahuwah's like, I'm going to try Abraham because of his sons fighting in the house. I'm going to try the husband because of what the wife is doing in the house. I'm going to try your mother and your father because of what the sons are doing in the house. I'm going to try your people in the congregation because of what the pastor is doing in the house. I'm going to try people because of what people are saying about what they're going to do and how great they are, and boasting and talking about what they're going to do. Just like Carl. Yahuwah, I ain't going to never deny you 3 times. Boasting about what you ain't going to do. And then when the time comes and Yahuwah try you, he say, you ain't going to do it. That's what happens. He says, Ephesians 2:9, not a result of works that no one may boast. Why do you think he said that? Why do you think Yitzhak is boasting about his works that he's doing? Because that's what people do. You start boasting about what you do. I fast 3 times a week. I fast 7 times. I fast every day. I never was in the bondage to any man. I never transgressed. Verse 10 says, for we are his workmanship, created in Mashiach, Yahushua, for good works, which Yahuwah Elohim prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. That's what good works are. That's what we just read. Not by works that any man or woman should boast. But all this is all a part of the defects within oneself that one has to rule over. Right, verse 46. And the day arrived, and the sons of Yahuwah came and placed themselves before Yahuwah, and Satan also came to the sons before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Satan, where comest thou? Just like Aydah. Skipping down to verse 50. Hast thou seen Abraham, the son of Terah, who was first, had no children? And he served you and erected altars to wherever he came, and he brought offerings upon them, and he proclaimed the name of Yahuwah continually to the children of the earth. And now that his son Yitzhak is born to him, he has forsaken thee, he left you, and has made a great feast for all the inhabitants of the land, and Yahuwah he has forgotten. That's what all Satan wants. He's like, he forgot you. Verse 54 says, and Yahuwah said to Satan, hast thou considered my servant Abraham, that there is none like him upon the earth, and a perfect and upright man before me, one that feareth Yahuwah and avoideth evil? You know what he said? Have y'all considered my servant Sarah? As I live, were I to say unto him, bring up Isaac thy son before me, he will not withhold him from me. Much more, if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his rock or his herd, he said, he ain't gonna withhold nothing from me. If I tell Abraham to do something, he gonna do it. Because he loves Yahuwah. That's why Yahushua said, if you love me, you keep my commandments. But for some reason, other people don't love him. Verse 55, and Satan answered Yahuwah and said, speak then now unto Abraham as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words. He said he's going to throw your words aside. Let's see. Bereshit 22, 1 through 4. Actually, 1 through 4. Let's see, 1 through 5. And it says, after these things, Yahuwah tested Abraham and said, Abraham, this is Bereshit ESV. He went from book of Yashar to here. And he said, here I am. And he said, take your son, your only son, Yitzhak, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him up for a burnt offering on the mountains that I tell you. And that's what he did. So Abraham rose early in the morning. When? That's what Yahuwah told him. Saddled his donkey, and he took his 2 young men with him, and his son Yitzhak, and he cut the wood and the burnt offering and arose and went to the place where Yahuwah had told him. And on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. On the 3rd day. On the 3rd day. What day? The 3rd day. The 3rd day of the week. And he said, then Abraham said to the young men, stay here with the donkey, and I and the boy, the young men, stay here with the boy, and I and the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you. He's like, we're going to come again to you. This book of Yashar 22, 43 through 48. And Abraham said to Yitzhak, my son, dost thou see the mountain, which we perceive at a distance? That which I see upon it? Because he had 2 young men. And Yitzhak answered and said unto my father, I see, and lo, the pillar of fire and a cloud of the kabod of Yahuwah has seen upon the cloud descended, upon the cloud, on the top of the mountain, a pillar. What's that? It flew in the sky and descended on top of the mountain. And Abraham knew that Yitzhak, his son Yitzhak, was accepted before Yahuwah for a burnt offering. He said, he knew, you could see it. You can see this. Everybody not going to see their jealousy, their envy, their strife, and their complaining inside of their heart. Everybody not going to see their rebellious and stubborn. Everybody not going to see it within themselves. They're not going to see how they get uncomfortable when things are taught about who they are. They're not going to see who they are. But Yitzhak saw it. And Abraham said to Eliezer and unto Ishmael his son, do you also see that which is upon the mountain, which is at a distance? He said, you can't see it, can you? He said, can you see that? And they answered and said, we see nothing more than like the other mountains of the earth. He said, we don't see nothing. We don't see this stuff. We ain't doing this. I don't see this stuff within myself. I don't have good judgment within myself. I'm not judging myself. I'm good. I'm good within myself. I don't see it. I don't see it within myself. You know what they say? And get what Abraham said. And Abraham knew that they were not accepted before Yahuwah to go with them. That's why Cain's offering was not accepted. Because he could not see the evil that was in his heart. He couldn't see it. And he said, if a person can't see that evil within themselves and judge themselves with right judgment and show no partiality for themselves, then guess what? Yahuwah said, I will not accept you. And Abraham said to them, abide ye here with the donkey, whilst I, Yitzhak, my son, will go to yonder mount and worship there before Yahuwah, and then return to you. And Eliezer and Ishmael remained in that place as Abraham had commanded. And they still had to obey Abraham's voice, even though they couldn't see it in his house. Because the same Ishmael and the same Eliezer, Ishmael, who was boasting in the house, who was boasting to Yitzhak, couldn't see it because he was so conceited, because he was circumcised in the flesh. He thought he was somebody, and now he can't even see what's on the mountain. He can't even see within himself. He can't even see what's in him. And you ask yourself, can you see what's in yourself? He said, are you still baracking yourself in your heart? And there Yahuwah then returned, he said, and then he returned to you. And Eliezer and Ishmael remained in the place as Abraham had commanded. That's what boasting gonna do you. It ain't gonna allow you not to see.
Continuing on. This is Bereshith, chapter 22, 6 through 14. Continue on. And Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering and laid it on Yitzhak his son. And he took his hand, the fire and the knife. So they went both of them together, because they're the only ones that could see. They're the only ones that could see it. Ishmael and Eliezer couldn't see it. And Yitzhak said to his father Abraham, Father Abraham, he said, here I am, my son. He said, behold, fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? He's like, where the lamb at? He said, I'm offering myself up. He said, where the lamb? Because Yitzhak like, hold up. And Abraham said, Yahuwah will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. They went both together on top of the mountain, because the other people couldn't see it. Because one was boasting and the other one was blind. Yahuwah blinded their eyes. They couldn't see the very thing that was right in front of them. They couldn't see what was in them. They couldn't see the things that Abraham and Yitzhak could see. Verse 9 says, and when they came to the place of which Elohim had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order to bound Yitzhak. And his son laid him on the altar. And he says, bound Yitzhak, his son, and laid him on the altar on the top of the wood. And he said, then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the Malach of Yahuwah called it from Shamaim and said to him, Abraham, Abraham. And he said it twice. He said it twice. And he said, here I am. He didn't ignore the voice. He didn't even ignore that. Right in the middle of getting ready to offer his son. He said, here I am. And he said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear Yahuwah. He like, I know you fear him now. I know you do, because you went on forwardly and you knew and you didn't stagger, and you guess what? You're willing to offer your son. You're willing to put to death your son. He said, I know you fear Yahuwah. So how do you fear Yahuwah and you're afraid to put to death what is earthly in you? You're afraid to put to death jealousy, envy, complaining, pride, anger, resentment, fornication, dissension, robberies, adultery. You're afraid to put to death all of the works of the flesh. He said, why are you afraid to put to death what is earthly in you? He said, I know you fear Yahuwah. The only reason you're afraid to put it to death is because you don't fear him. He said, you don't fear Yahuwah. That's the reason why you're afraid to put it to death. And you must put it to death in order to prove that you fear Yahuwah. You must put to death what is earthly in you. All the things that you refuse to see within yourself, you got to judge properly within yourself. And he says, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. He said, seeing that you have not withheld that thing you love within yourself. He said, the reason why people can't put to death what is earthly in them, the behaviors within themselves, the works of the flesh, is because they are withholding it. They are afraid to kill it out of themselves, to destroy it within themselves. They are afraid to hit the target spot on. They purposely miss. Verse 13 says, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thickest by his horns, because they are afraid to put it to death, because they don't believe that Yahuwah will provide. They don't believe that Yahuwah will provide for them. They don't believe if they put their son to death, they won't come back alive. They don't believe if they don't put the things inside of them to death, they're not going to come back alive. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of the son. So why you can't put things to death? You don't believe that he's going to have something to bring you back alive? So you don't have to do that. He said that's the reason why he did it. He believed that something was going to happen that was going to bring it and be accepted to Yahuwah. So people say, why are you afraid to put the things with death within yourself? Why are you afraid to put to death your hatred, your envy, jealousy, the lying? Why are you afraid to put it to death? Because if you do, if you stop doing it, then Yahuwah has something in replace of that. He has Yahushua Mashiach to come into your heart. He has an offering, something that will be accepted to come inside. So Abraham called the name of the place, Yahuwah will provide. He called the name of the place, Yahuwah will provide. Do you believe that Yahuwah will provide something for you if you put to death what is earthly in you? Those parts of yourselves that Yahuwah don't like. The parts of yourselves that don't allow you to inherit the Malkut. He said Yahuwah will provide. Do you believe that he's going to provide for you if you put to death what is earthly in your mind? The things that don't allow you to inherit. It says, here's what it says, as it is to this day. And that's how it should be in your life, as it is this day. Because today is the day of salvation. That's what he says. On the mount of Yahuwah, it shall be provided. That's what it says. On the mountain of Yahuwah, it will be provided. So you look at yourself. He said, are you willing to put the things to death within you? Because if you are afraid to do it, then you must don't fear him. He said, you must don't fear him. Right, so so Abraham, so this right here, verse 14. So Abraham called the name of that place, Yahuwah will provide. As it is said to this day, on the mount of Yahuwah it shall be provided. So Abraham called the name of that place, Yahuwah will provide. So what that word for Yahuwah will provide mean? It means they got Jehovah Jireh. That ain't what it means. If you know Abri Lashon, it says Yahuwah Yareh. It means, Yahuwah provide means fear Yahuwah. So who do you fear? Yahuwah will see. You think Yahuwah don't see? He said Yahuwah see everything within me. Yeah, he do. He said Yahuwah will see you. He said fear Yahuwah. That's what Abraham did. Abraham feared Yahuwah. That's why he was willing to do what he did. The reason why people won't put to death what is earthly in them and the things within their heart and then all the things works of the flesh is because you don't fear him. The reason why you refuse to rule over it because you don't fear him. The reason why one rocks themselves in their heart after they hear all the things that can happen to them
Because they don't fear him. And the reason why a lot of people don't fear Yahuwah as a father is because they didn't fear their own father in their house. And they've never been trained properly. And their father never brought fear within them. Their own earthly father. And they transgress against their own earthly father. So if you do that against your own earthly father, of course you're going to do it to your Shamayim father. He said, fear Yahuwah. He said, how do you know that? And then what you see right here, you got a ha at the end of it. Yahuwah Yareh. Why? Why he got a ha at the end? Because it's both male and female. Both of you got to, he said, both male and female have to fear Yahuwah. Yahuwah, fear Yahuwah. Yahuwah, fear. Yahuwah sees. Fear Yahuwah. Right? So the book of Psalms 33:18. Behold, the eyes of Yahuwah is on those who fear him. Why do you think he was looking at Abraham? He said, is Yahuwah eyes on you? He said, Yahuwah eyes on me? If you don't fear him. On those who hope in his steadfast love. He said, I'm hoping in his steadfast love. I put myself to death. If I put to death what is earthly in me, all the jealousy, envy, and rivalry within myself, my hope is that his love will shine in my heart and I will have love for good deeds for people. Verse 19, that he may deliver their soul from death. I'm going to die if I put myself, to put to death what is earthly in you. You don't believe he's going to make you back alive, though. That's why people say, that's why they don't put to death what is earthly in them. Because you don't believe that you kill all those things out of your life and stop doing it and stop rocking yourself in your heart. You don't believe that he can make you alive. You don't believe he can deliver you from that death you just put yourself in. You don't believe that he can sow and bring you back to life. That's why you fear death. That's why you fear that person within, that all those things inside of you dying, and you got to rule over because you don't want to do it. That he may deliver my soul from death and keep them alive in famine. Why? Because they're going to be swords. They're going to be earthquakes, pestilence, famines, earthquakes in diverse places. So you want him to deliver you from the famine, earthquakes, pestilence, and diseases in the world? He said, if you keep my commandments, guess what he said? I will put none of the diseases on you that I'm going to put on everybody else. You want to be delivered from the famine, you can't have fear from putting to death what is earthly in you. And you must believe that he can deliver you from death. Or you're going to be in the famine. You know, he says, pray that you may be able to escape to temptation that's coming on all the earth. It's coming. And people think, I'm be good, even though I rock myself in my heart. It's coming upon the earth. You see what people do? What you think I was thinking this morning. I was like, man, we in trouble. I said, we in trouble. The whole world in trouble. We in trouble. We in trouble. It's coming. It's coming. And go what he says. Who fear him? Right? He said that word for fear is Yareh, without the ha on the end. Fearing, reverent, afraid. He said, I ain't afraid. I ain't afraid of no man. Yahuwah said, I'm a man of war in the book of Deuteronomy 32. He said, Yahuwah is a man of war. He said, I ain't afraid of no man. He said, man, you better watch your mouth. He said, Yahuwah is in the highest Shamayim, you on the earth. He said, let your words be few. And it says right here, afraid, fearful. Yahuwah, Yareh. He said, fear Yahuwah. That's why he told you to fear Yahuwah, not man. Right? This is Shaphatim, Judges 11, 1-11. Now Jephthah, the Gideonite, was a mighty warrior. He was mighty. Are you going to judge a mighty man? Are you partiality in judgment? As the book of Job says? But he was the son of a prostitute. Oh man, he was the son of fornication. Well, you know how that's going to work. Especially among Yasharal. Gilead, he's like, man, we ain't no child. You know how they say when Yahusha came to the people of the Yahudim, they're like, we're not born of fornication. But we would never about, we Abraham's seed. It says Gilead's father, it says, and Gilead was the father of Jephthah. And Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, he said, they grew up. And he said, man, you shall not have an inheritance within our father's house, for you are the son of another woman. Ooh, how that hurt. How that hurt. It sounds like Yusuf, right? Hey, wasn't it Yusuf? Yusuf. Then Jephthah fled from his brothers. He's like, man, you ain't gonna inherit him out. You son of another woman. He said he fled from his brothers. That's what make people leave. Because of the way you treat people. He said, why people leave? Why people don't want to be joined with other brothers and other sisters and all that? That's why. And lived in the land of Tob, and worthless fellows collected around Jephthah and went out with him. He said, then worthless fellows, then other worthless fellows start coming around him. And after a time, the Ammonites made war with Yasharal, because that's what's going to happen when you get cast out. And people, and guess what? He said, make you don't feel well. You're going to get worthless fellows, sons of Belial. And when the Ammonites made war against Yasharal, the elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah from the land of Tob, and they said to Jephthah, come and be our leader, that we may fight against the Ammonites. Then who did that? The elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah. The elders did that. Come be our leader. Come on. You know, the person that was born from another woman who they cast out. He says, come and be our leader, that we may fight against the Ammonites. But Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, did you not hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Didn't you hate me and drive me out of my father's house? You drove me out of my father's house. Why have you come now when you are in distress? Why you think Yahuwah said, man, didn't you? He said, in the Torah, they hated me without a cause. He said, didn't you drive me out of there? Why are you coming to me in your distress? And he says, and the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, this is why we have turned to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the Ammonites and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. And he's like, you're going to be our head, the elders said. And Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, if you bring me home again to fight against the Ammonites, you're going to bring me back. And Yahuwah gives them over to me. He said, I'm going to be your head. He said, I'm going to rule. And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, Yahuwah will be witness between us. He said, he got witnesses. He got more than one. If we do not say as you say. He's like, if we do not do as you say. So the Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and leader over them. And Jephthah spoke all his words before Yahuwah at Mizpah. He said, Yahuwah, he said it. Yahuwah heard it, just like you heard Yishmael and Yitzhak, just like he heard Cain and Abel. He said, I heard it. He spoke all the words before Yahuwah. And guess what happened? Because he was a mighty warrior. That's what they want. And this is verse Judges 11, 29 to 33. And then the Ruach of Yahuwah came upon Jephthah, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh. Now the Ruach came upon him, and passed through a man who was the son of a prostitute. And get what it says. Manasseh and passed through Mizpah and Gilead, and Mizpah and Gilead he passed unto the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to Yahuwah and said, if you will give the Ammonites into my hand, then whatever comes out from the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the Ammonites shall be Yahuwah's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Easy. That sounds like Abraham's story, right? But guess what? Jephthah had something wrong with him, because he was so desirous of being the head. He was willing to offer anything that first that come out of his house. And guess what? So Jephthah crossed over the Ammonites to fight against them, and Yahuwah gave them into his hand, and he struck them from Aurora to the neighborhood of Menith, 20 cities, and as far as Abel Karim, with a great blow. So the Ammonites were subdued and before the people of Yasharal. He's like, Yahuwah, like, for real, you'll do that? Yahuwah, give him into your hand. Be careful what you say. Yahuwah, like, I hear you. People be praying and be like, I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. If I die, I die. Be careful what you say. Deliver me from this. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. I hope you lose everything. Be careful what you say. It could happen. He said, do you want that? He said right here, continue 34 to 36. And Jephthah came into his home at Mizpah, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with tambourines and with dances. His daughter came out joyful and glad. Dances. And she was his only child. He was like his only baby. Oh my gosh. His only child. My only child, like your only son. Besides her, he had neither son nor daughter. He said, I ain't got nobody else. And as soon as he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. Why has your face fallen, Cain? Why has your face fallen, Cain? And you have become the cause of great trouble to me. Why has your face fallen, Cain? For I have opened my mouth to Yahuwah. Be careful what you say. Deliver me from this. And you end up bringing other people into your vow, and then guess what happened? And I cannot take back my vow. Because according to Deuteronomy chapter 30, he said, if a man utter anything from his mouth, he must perform what he said out of his mouth. But for a woman, she can say everything out of her mouth, and her father can withhold her and stop it. Her husband can, but a man, he say something out of his mouth, it gotta go. He can't go out. He can't go outside of it. That's why when a man make a vow to take a woman, he can't put that woman. Once you do that, it's like it don't matter how many wives you got. He's like, you can't. He's like, man. And she said to him, my father, you have opened your mouth to Yahuwah. Fear Yahuwah. His daughter had more amunah than him. Do to me according to what you have gone out of your mouth. How many people are going to say that? How many women are going to say that? How many young people are going to say that? Now that Yahuwah has avenged you on your enemies, on the Ammonite. He said, being that Yahuwah gave you, because he told her what, he just told her what she did. And here another verse, another witness, verse Qahalath chapter 5, 4 through 7. He said, be careful what you say. He said, you recited that. You be careful what you say, because you promised it. And he said, when you vow a vow to Yahuwah, do not delay in paying it. Fear Yahuwah. He said, you moving too slow. For he has no pleasure in fools. I will not accept no offering from you. I own a cattle on 1,000 hills. If I were hungry, I wouldn't tell you. Because he had no partiality in judgment, whether male or female. Title, doesn't matter. Verse 6, let not your mouth lead you to sin. Don't say something out of your mouth you ain't going to do. Or perform in haste every single day. And do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should Yahuwah be angry at your voice and destroy the works of your hands? People saying, what just happened? He said, I'll destroy your works of your hands, the things you built, the things you created, the things you want to do for your life. For when dreams increase and grow, many, there is vanity. All is vanity in it. You're going to be thinking about all the things you can do. All the things you can do outside of the vow that Yahuwah commanded you to do, you're going to start thinking about, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do this business, do that, do this and that and that. And then you forget about the vow you made to Yahuwah, and then now Yahuwah's like, I'm going to destroy everything you got. But Yahuwah is the one you must fear. Yahuwah Yareh. He said, Yahuwah is the one you should fear. Right? Continuing on, 37 through 40. So she said to her father, let this thing be done for me. Leave me alone 2 months. He like, let it be done. She knew. She knew the Torah. Because she was in her father's house. And according to Deuteronomy chapter 30, she knew when she in her father's house, she vowed a vow. She can't do it. And she knew the first verse when it said, when a man vows a vow, you must give it. You must do what came out of your mouth. She knew that. She knew it. Not today, though. Not the daughters today. Not the wives today. They ignore it. Not knowing that obedience yields productivity, according to the 7 celestial circles. He said, leave me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down on the mountains and weep for my virginity. Ain't that Shaul said? He says, and my companions. So he said, go. Then he sent her away for 2 months. He said, he let her go. Cause you know how it is? Man, I done did this. Man, oh my gosh. He's like, go. Because if a father could say, no, you ain't going. And she departed, and she and her companions wept for her virginity on the mountains. On where? On the high places. On the mountains. And at the end of 2 months, at the end of a half of a cycle, she ain't doing it in wintertime. She did it in the summertime. She returned to her father, who did her according to the vow that he had made. That she had never known a man, and it became a custom in Yasharah. Why? Because she can't. He gave it to Yahuwah. He offered her, so she can't never be married. In other writings, it says he actually put her to death. Oh, he did. Because she could never have a child. Matter of fact, she can never be married. People say, I'm going to give myself to Yahuwah. She has never known a man, and it become a custom in Yasharah. The daughters of Yasharah went year by year to lament for the daughter of Yaphanah, the Gileonite, for 4 days in the year. How many daughters do that today? How many of y'all do it? That'll help you keep your virginity. Matter of fact, that'll help you understand when you vow a vow, you must comply. It'll help you in your marriage. When you vow a vow, you must comply. It'll help you when you perform. True love can be said if it's only performed, if you do it. Right, this 2 Samuel 2:12-8. And Abner, the son of Ner, the servant Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim in Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servant Daud went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool and on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, let the young men arise and compete before us. And Joab said, let them arise. Let them compete. Then they arose and passed over number 12 for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 for the servants of Daud. So we're going to stop there. So we look at everything. We look at our life. And we look at our understanding. And we look at our inward man. We look at our inward being. And we should not walk according to our own imaginations and our own thoughts. And we should not live according to our own flesh. And we should understand when we vow and when we have boasting and we have rivalries, we create other things within our life that we do not need. For we live in this world, we are not of it. And we should walk according to the light and the order of the Torah. We should live according to the righteousness that he gave to us, according to the knowledge of Yahushua Mashiach. and should not live according to our own self and boast about works that we do within ourselves, for it is just the obedience of Yahuwah, and there's no words that need to be said. For we must do as we have said, and walk accordingly as we have said, and observe the things that he has given to us to be a light to the world, that we no longer live according to our own flesh, but according to the Ruach Chdash, in Ruach and in truth, continually, all the days of our life. But at the same time, even as all these things will not allow one to inherit the Malkuth of Shamayim, jealousy, envy, rivalries, dissension, strife, factions, quarreling, fighting, it won't allow you to inherit eternal life, knowing that one is poor in Ruach, even as Yahushua taught on the mount, Barak are the ones who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Barak are those, the poor in Ruach. Barak are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. For the meek shall inherit the earth.